One of the things that we wanted to quick share, and it's not going to take a long time. This is a complex organizing strategy for change. Say organizing strategy.
Organizing strategy.
For change.
For change.
I can't hear you loud enough.
Change.
I can't hear you loud enough.
Organizing
strategy for change.
See here. Here's the deal. We are the help
that
we've been waiting for. Nobody else is coming.
Right.
Right? And so we hear often about the cradle to the prison pipeline. And we in here know that that pipeline is real. Right? While we hear a lot about the pipeline, we don't hear as much about how are we going to unpack it. Quickly, I'm going to give you a strategy. We've been working on this for years. And it's as a result of acquired learning, you know, just kind of being in this for a while. It gives you a vision or an insight into some parts of its operating parts that are liberating once you get a chance to really look at them. And so in so doing, if you look at your document, what we call this is the highway of hope. The highway of hope is the antithesis of the cradle to the prison pipeline. We have to have another strategy. The cradle to the prison pipeline needs to be dismantled, and this is our part of a strategy that dismantles it. And I'm going to take you through it just only so quick, and I'm glad we have some of our guests here, because what we want to do in some ways is be solution orientated. Now, we're not going to solve everything here tonight, but I do want to at least present a opportunity for change for the guests and for some of you. Now, what we've done in here, and I'm going to make this make sense to you, what we've done is we've said, how does the pipeline work? How is it that the pipeline keeps getting fed? Well, we understand really that poverty, not race. Listen to me carefully. Poverty is what kicks the pipeline off. You get it? The race piece kicks in later in some of these other operational institutions. But initially, poverty and its dynamics are what kick the pipeline off, right? It doesn't make a difference. And so we've identified the 5 neighborhoods in Minneapolis. This is a Minneapolis strategy, a pilot project in Minneapolis, where the poverty index is low. 55411, you're sitting in that. 12 up the street. 09, that's south. 04 and 07. One is northeast, and the other one is
south.
Phillips, in that area. Well, what happens is what we find out is that only a few guys give these neighborhoods the name and reputation that they have. It's not everybody, but a few. And that few get identified, watch this, in preschool, right? And so our organizing strategy begins actually in preschool. It's a 7-year initiative, what we call the Highway of Hope, or Vision 2027. What we want to do is be able to find a way out of this condition by 2027. You get what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so what we're doing is saying, if we can get Head Start, which is an organized preschool structure in each one of these neighborhoods, Head Start and some other preschool entity in these neighborhoods to partner with us. We don't know who all us is at this time, but with us to identify 50 to 100 boys in all these neighborhoods total that we see in preschool are struggling. You know why you're so quiet? Because you know this is exactly what we've been dealing with, but nobody's come up with a strategy. But we have to come up with a strategy, and we have to present it. And so if we can identify 100 boys, 50 to 100 boys in these zip codes, in this arena, preschool, and then create 3 to 5 annual events for the preschool boys hosted only by men who are positive men. These events could be baseball games, they could be ice or roller skating, it could be anything, but it's facilitated with men, positive men. And then of course we gotta have the right men, we gotta have everything kosher. You get what I mean? There's a role here, and we have some of our elder men who come to us and step to us like Rick has and said, you know, Brother Shane, I want to get involved, but these populations are a little too much for me, but I want to get involved and I want to help. Well, we believe that we can organize a group of men who pass whatever muster they need to pass for this juvenile group of boys, but to begin to guide them on a type of rites of passage. People misuse that concept. I'm only saying that to you only so that you can understand what I'm talking about here. But for 3 to 5 events per year for 7 years. Watch this, because this population, some of this population, Dion, will graduate and go into elementary school. In elementary school is where some of that race stuff begins to kick up, right? Because intellect has as a part of its blessing the curse of labeling. Huh? See, so intellect will say, oh, I know what that is. But you really don't know, right? And if y'all know anything about Lucy Craft Laney School that has a movie out right now, are you aware of the movie? And the movie is called Love 'Em First. Two reporters from KARE 11 made the movie about the school right here on Broadway Avenue, Penn Avenue. The movie is so successful, it was just in a film festival. Now it's running like a movie and it's selling out. It's because the principal demonstrated the principle of love first, and that education, TX, comes behind the fact that you know I care about you as a person. And that's a part of what we identified here in POP tonight. So what we've identified here, we have all of this information. Wayne and Tierra have been doing a good job. We've identified the elementary schools that these Head Start and preschools feed into from these neighborhoods. So we've identified them, Harvest Prep and Lucy Craft Laney and other schools. We have them identified. And so in that identification, now we have a different set of men who are going inside the school in partnership with the school board. We have to get all of this situated, right? And we have to get people to buy into the strategy. And our whole goal is to keep 100 boys out of the prison system. Now, we took 100 boys and multiplied that by $42,000 a year. How much is it, Wayne?
4.2 mil.
$4.2 million to save, or to house them in prison for just 1 year. That's $4.2 million per year. You following me? So we then go with events. We already have the Boys of Hope initiative, honey, that we've jumped off in some of the elementary schools, and that with the right support that we can model that in at least one of each one of these schools for 5 to 7 years, because what we're always working for is derailing the cradle to the prison pipeline with a highway of hope. Somebody say the highway of hope.
Highway of hope.
Is this making sense to you? Now look, this is what we're waiting for, theorists, academics, and psychologists to come up with, but they're never going to come up with it. And they keep quoting to us Ohio and Chicago and all of these other best practices. But look, I want to know what works here in Minneapolis.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
And if you can't really, if you can't tell me what makes Minneapolis pop, then you know your information is antiquated for me. I'm just telling you the truth.
That's right.
Wow.
Right?
Interesting.
Watch this. I'll say one more thing about it and I'll move on. Researchers who are paid big money to tell the story about what's working in the Department of Corrections have never been here one time. Ooh. And let me tell you why. is because, and see, that's where intellect can label you non-important.
Right.
You don't really matter. But the truth of the matter is, we're the largest reentry group in the entire system of the state of Minnesota, week in and week out. If they avoid us and the research that could be taking place, y'all don't realize you jumped off a whole body of research just with your testimony tonight. But see, we can be marginalized. I'll leave that alone. I'll keep on moving. Say, keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
From here, we know in a 5 to 7 year strategy, these guys are going to move on to the high schools. Wayne and Tier have identified the feeder high schools for these locations. If we pull all of them in to the conversation ahead of time, everybody knows we're coming. Everybody knows what time it is. Everybody knows what we're trying to undo. Say undo.
Undo.
Yeah, everybody knows we're trying to create hope. Say hope.
Hope.
Say I'm on.
I'm on.
The highway of hope.
The highway of hope.
Ooh, that sounds good to me. Now watch this, and so we end up identifying the schools. We're already in Henry. We're already in North.
Really?
We're already doing some of these things, but we got to expand it. You get it? Now watch this carefully. This is right now here where this age of 14 to 18, folks start making that jump to juvenile corrections, truancy. Truancy is a crime in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Watch this. And so here, if we have already got relationships with this population of boys, when they reach that critical juncture, we can get them to choose the highway of hope versus the cradle to the prison pipeline.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, if nobody, Tierra, if nobody else comes, we're going to have to do more than what we've already done. We are the help that we have been waiting for.
And
nobody else comes.
Nobody else is coming in. So what we've got to do is see the work clearly so that we know what we're doing. Watch this now. See, because right here, if we could get the court system, I brought a document, and I was going to pass it out, but I didn't, from District Court Judge Kevin Burke. And Kevin Burke, who was one of the most respected judges on the bench, he's aging out now. He said, you know, why are we playing? We always playing. It's the judge. Say the judge.
The judge.
He said, we always give blacks more time than we give everybody for doing less. And why do we play and mince words with it when we know it's true? He's talking to his peers.
Wow.
Now, if you think he's served as a chief judge longer than any other judge in Hennepin County, that some legislator would pick up on that dynamic and drive it someplace. But that conversation didn't go nowhere. But it wasn't wasted on me. I'm paying attention to what he's talking about. And so, see, if we can get partners, and now the finances of incarceration are causing people to partner now where they didn't want to partner before. I'll wait for all that.
That's right, man. Amen. Lost dollars.
And so if we can start talking about cost savings to one side of the aisle, and we can talk about highway of hope to the other, then we got a chance of winning something. Now you got to watch this now. All of this I'm talking about costs money, right? We got to watch this. If we added as a part of the highway of hope, and you got to watch this down here. This is corrections, juvenile adult corrections, POs, ISR agents, judicial branch, the whole 9. Are you with me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, watch this. So if we could get now this administration, both at the DOC level, but at the legislative level, to see the value in not returning offenders to prison for technical violations, the cost savings, and the safety and security of both inmates and guards in the prisons as they currently exist would go down exponentially. We could even take it down from 2 in a bunk to 1 in a cell. You remember when it was single cell?
Yep.
And it was a safer place.
It was that.
Watch this, watch this. So, see now, if we can get that, now we got cost savings. Say cost savings.
Cost savings.
So we got cost savings, and we get the POs who are already serving clients. Everybody's buying in now to this Vision 2027. The idea is we're not sending anybody back for crimes not against a person, small misdemeanor crime, and or technical violations. So if you're out, you're not going back unless you commit another crime.
Right.
And if you are, when you're released, you haven't been out, you're gonna be out and not have to go back for technical violations. Now, this is why the brother got up from here and left, because Chad is peculiar. Yeah, and you got to know the peculiarities that get back on time, right? And I can say more.
Can I say one thing?
No, so don't stop me right now. Just let me get it out, and then you can say anything you want. Watch this. So to the extent that we're able to do that, that revenue would go back to two places. That's revenue recapture. It goes back to two places. The money's already allocated at the legislative level to give this body a stronger resource arm to be more community minded than they are right now. The lock 'em up strategy has now breaking the bank. Now watch this, but it also goes back to fund the overall vision. So that you don't need new money necessarily, you might need seed money. Say seed money.
Seed money.
You don't say it loud enough. Say seed
Seed
money.
money.
I'm not afraid to talk about money in here.
Seed money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You might need seed money to get this going, but ultimately this work will take care of itself in recapture because we're sending less people for committing no crime. Right? And I can tell you now, if we put it out there 7 years away, we can then vision ourselves. We see where we want to go. We got a vision for what we're doing. We got an idea for how to help. And each one of us play a role. At different locations in the organizing strategy, you become a bigger player. Yeah. And with this population here, y'all can talk to them, whereas we got to have somebody else talk down here. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes. But yet we use our unique expertise to undo the situation. Stop causing this to look cool. Or talk crazy like this is reality when you really living in unreality. Somebody say unreality.
Unreality.
This, in my mind, is Vision 2027 or the Highway of Hope. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yes, sir.
Highway of Hope.
The thing is with this here, this is fair. The judicial system is unfair. So this is obsolete to them. They will never, I hate to say it, but they'll lose their identity if they did what was right. This, what he's showing, is right.
But let me stop you right there. See, and I know what he's saying,
right,
but I got to believe beyond it. Right. Let me tell you why I say it. Let me tell you why I got to say it. Because we have to get to our next level.
That's right.
And we got to figure out how to do it. You're right.
Yeah.
But we can still, listen, Tony, listen to this carefully. We can still give everybody what they need in here. And still come out okay for ourselves. Go ahead, son.
I just wanted